Hey, how's it going, guys? This is your boy Hazzed, and today you guys requested that I do the talents of how I play my Boomy with this Starfall spec. So I'll go ahead and show you guys that, show you how I kind of just proc up multiple Starfalls and come up with some crazy AoE bursts for Battlegrounds. So let's do this. So, before we can do anything, you guys gotta know what talents you're using. Now, when it comes to Boomies, they definitely have multiple playstyles that you can choose by looking at the talents. I'm not gonna cover all of them, honestly, because, I really only base my playstyle for one. It's the one I kind of enjoy the most. So, level 15 talent, I'm gonna be using Warrior of Elune, which causes your next 2 Lunar Strikes to be insta-cast. Now, why are we using that? Well, basically, 2 Lunar Strikes are gonna generate you around 10 Astral Power, but if you're blowing cooldowns, it's gonna be about roughly 40 astral power, and determining on how you set up your burst, that's going to be just enough power to actually generate an extra starfall off of that one proccing ability. So that alone within that first talent is a starfall. Now remember, this spec's built around about maximizing starfall AoE pressure in battlegrounds. Number 30, I use Displacer Beast. Obviously, it's going to be the best thing for kiting people out. Renewal's kind of nice. I mean, it's a little bit of a heal. But Displacer Beast, as you've seen in my videos, can break me out of combat so many times it'll make your head spin. Especially if you're using sprint and other things like that, shifting forms. You know, you're gone on a Boomy. You're gone. You're at the next flag somewhere, and people are like, "Where'd that Boomy go?" You know, that's what's going on. So the level 45 talent, we're going to be using Restoration Affinity. Now, I can imagine if it's coming down to, like, arenas or something and you have a healer, you may want to go, like, Guardian Affinity or something that actually reduces all damage taken by 10%, which may be a bit better in an arena situation for D'ing up. But for level 45, I'm definitely going to take the Resto Affinity so I can actually heal myself quite a bit in Battlegrounds and stay alive. Also, you know, mix that up with Displacer Beast, using Wild Charges, your shifts, and then, you know, getting away from everybody and healing up with your Rejuvenation, Regrowth, and Swiftman. The Swiftman, of course, going to be the Insta-Cast, which saves your butt quite a lot. Level 60. Now, you can use Mighty Bash for some CC, like in the arena setting. You definitely could do that. Now, Mass Entanglement's more for Battlegrounds, and peeling off melee, since, you know, the strength of melee right now are extremely powerful. That is definitely a need when it comes to playing in Battlegrounds if you're you know, performing alone/dueling situations. Level 60, of course, you could use Typhoon if you're going to knock people off the cliff. And Lumber Mill, Eye of the Storm, things like that. I mean, you know, it's Typhoon! Get back! Alright, level 75 talent. Now, this is where I will kind of talk about some differentiation in specs. Now, Stellar Flare can be used in I believe it's more of a Moonfire, Sunfire spec, and you use like Fury of Elune or something, and you use like Shooting Stars, and it buffs basically your Moonfire, Sunfire damage, really bursty, kind of the same kind of style, but for the most part, you're relying on those instacasts and spreading dots for damage, which is pretty interesting. But of course, with mine, I like to use Incarnation, Chosen of Elune, so basically you go better moon form, and you deal quite a bit more damage than you would outside of those cooldowns. So you can imagine, as you saw with the Warrior of Elune, that I get those free procs with Lunar Strike. Basically, you can see how this is kind of going together. We're going to generate the maximum amount of Starfalls within the cooldown base that we can with this spec. I mean, it lasts 30 seconds. So you're going to have time for, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 of them if you're lucky. Alright, so level 90 talent, it's going to be Astral Communion. Alright, so Astral Communion is going to generate 75 Astral Power. You notice how Starfall only has 60 Astral Power it takes to cast. It's going to leave you with an extra 15. You throw in Warrior of Elune, and then you proc off 2 Lunar Strikes. It's going to generate you 40. I mean, that's 55. You only need 5 more. That could be like a, Moonfire and a Sunfire, and you got enough to cast it again. That's kind of how this spec works. Everything just kind of fits together in a really nice way. So you can throw off, I believe it's 3 Starfalls I could get procced at once, and then I could proc a 4th one consecutively enough that it actually lines up with the other 3, so it's kind of like Starfall elongated, and then from there you can probably add in one after the other pretty close together if your Chosen of Elune's still up, of course. Alright, so level 1. 100 talent. Since we're playing the Starfall spec, I'm going to be increasing the radius by 30%, so I mean it's going to hit a lot bigger area, of course. It's going to hit a lot more people. It's going to make it a lot harder to get out of. More than likely, the combat zone is going to be so small that it's going to hit just about everybody anyways, so that's definitely going to be a solid talent to take for this AoE spec. So let's go ahead and jump into rotation. Let's go ahead and go over the rotation of this spec, guys. Obviously, when you're starting out on the Boomy, you're going to want to dot up your targets, put Moonfire and Sunfire on everything you possibly can. Alright, so everything's on there. Alright, good to go. We got dots ticking. That means your AoE pressure is going to be absolutely maximized at this point. Alright, so what we want to do is generate our Astral Power. You can do that any way you want. You can proc your Warrior of Elune. You can use Astral Communion for faster bursts if you feel like the melee fights are going to take a bit longer, like you're going to get focused, so go ahead and, you know, cast it up faster at that point. But if you have the choice to sit back a little bit, dot up all the targets, and then, of course, proc out as much as possible on Ancestral Power, this is going to be when we throw up our Incarnation, Chosen of Elune, and then we're going to start dropping our Starfalls. We're going to throw up Astral Communion, throw up another Starfall, and then we're going to generate a little power here and go for those insta-cast Lunar Strikes, and then we're going to throw up another Starfall. Now, if you do that correctly, guys, you can generate, of course, 3 in a row, and then it makes it so you can cast while moving while you're in Starfall, to generate, of course, more power for your next Starfall. Now, if you're doing this to a point to where, I mean, you're consecutive with the abilities, you can actually basically, you know, not stop moving while you're kiting the whole time, if you're using those correctly. But all in all, that's really about what it is when it comes to proccing that AoE damage, just building up power, keeping up your dots, and then, of course, dropping your Starfalls, and then going into your cast for that single target damage right afterwards. It's very important that you be quick about this, because if you're not quick about this, it's going to drop your DPS by quite a lot. Now, for single target damage, you're definitely going to be using Star Surge. Of course, for single target damage, you're going to dot up the target and try to proc up as much Ancestral Power as you can. Now, at the points that I use Star Surge are really when I'm either trying to kill somebody, like go for a kill, single target, and or I'm being focused by somebody single target, in which case I'll kite back and I'll go ahead and use that instead of using Starfall, and in which case you get a fast Solar Wrath and a fast Lunar Strike. Now, one of the things that's pretty nice to be able to do with this is if you're fighting somebody 1v1 and they're coming at you and you're dotting them up, they're kind of, you know, closing the distance, and you want to put in some single target and quite a bit of AoE right here. You can go ahead and fire off one of those. You can use your Ancestral Communion, drop a Starfall, and then you can, of course, cast while you're moving while proccing both abilities while keeping up quite a bit of single target damage on somebody. And, you know, it's quite a big burst. You guys saw me use that in the other video when a rogue was focusing me. I kind of did that little trick on him, did a couple insta-casts, and then I hit him with the moon. He was not happy about that. Oh, yeah, the ability that comes later on when you hit people with the moon, that's on the artifact weapon. So you'll be getting that at level like 110, which is probably one of the coolest abilities that Moonkins have, which generates alone. That ability generates enough Ancestral Power that it basically hands you another Starfall proc. So pretty powerful ability right there. But for the most part, guys, that's basically how this spec works. I mean, of course, the healing, you want to set up your bars so you know, the healing's on your normal side, since you won't be able to proc a lot of that healing while in your booming form. I believe you can use Healing Touch in your booming form. So yeah, I do have it on my bars. Yeah, you can. So that's quite nice. You'll be able to have a little bit of survivability while you're in your Moonkin form. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and go for another triple Starfall here, since I didn't feel like I did it quite correctly on the last one. I felt like I left the opener too much. It usually takes me a couple times of actually trying to do it correctly to do it, since you got to remember quite a few little rules with this. Alright, so let's go ahead and proc it up correctly here. Go ahead and get maxed out power. And then I'm going to pop the cooldowns, go for first Starfall, and then we're going to Astral Communion, go for second Starfall, and then go for both Instacast, and then the third Starfall right here. Right now we have 3 Starfalls dropping on them. That is a lot of Starfalls right there. That's a lot of damage going out. Lots of AoE. And of course we want our dots taken to maximize pressure. And that's basically the rotation of Boomy, guys. It's Boomy is really not that hard. You generate up your ancestral power, then you can decide if you either want a single target burst or AoE burst. Now, if you really want to go for a maximized like single target burst, of course you want dots rolling on the target. You're gonna want to wait for Warrior of Elune, and what you're basically going to do is dump in as much instacast on somebody as possible, basically proc off, double Star Surge, go into Warrior of Elune, and then of course you have these little faster lunar strikes that you can blow off if you want, but of course you'll go into Elune and just get the instacast, and then go back into another Star Surge proc for some insane single target burst damage. But that, I'd have to say, about sums up the rotation of Boomy. As far as macros go, guys, I haven't really seen a real big need for macros on a Boomy. Maybe later on when you need, self-healing on yourself, maybe friendly targets. But other than that, guys, this is a pretty fun BG/pub stomping spec. Definitely for topping charts. Easily will top charts in Battlegrounds if you do it correctly. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. You guys requested it, so we did it. And until next time, this was your boy Hazzed.